Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dova Levin, and I am the National Senior Director for Educational and Patient Programming at the MDFA. We are very excited today to have Toni Gitles with us for a presentation on caring for your caregiver. Toni started Heartlight Enterprises to help family caregivers overcome the stress and negativity of caregiving and to find meaning and resilience in this life-changing journey. She is both a certified caregiving consultant and certified caregiving educator, in addition to holding a master's degree in audiology. She has a new book coming out in the fall titled 21 Mistakes Caregivers Make and How to Avoid Them. Toni is an MGA patient and a dedicated volunteer running the National MGFA Caregiver Support Group, which meets twice a month. I do want to thank our sponsors before we get started: Alexion, Argenix, UCB, Horizon, and Janssen. I am going to stop sharing my screen and I'm going to let Toni share her screen and then we can get started.
Okay, ready to go.
There we go. Thank you. I'll be here.
All right, this is Caring for the Caregiver. I am Toni Gitles, and this is a little bit about my story. My background is that I took care of my mother for 14 years. 11 of those she was in assisted living, but I still felt like I was on call 24/7. It was an exhausting experience, but also quite a growth experience. I learned a lot about myself, and I got to know my mother intimately, and it was a very loving journey. I am an only child, and I tried to do everything myself. That was the exhausting part, and now I know better. We're going to talk about some of that in our presentation today. My mom died in 2017 at the age of 99, so I had a lot of time to be with her, and it was a beautiful experience. In 2018, I became certified as a caregiving consultant. The following year, I was diagnosed with ocular myasthenia gravis, and in 2022, it became generalized myasthenia gravis. I have had a caregiver who I call my care partner for the last 4 years, and I am also his care partner. We are in our 70s and noticing that we do have health problems at this age and a need for someone to be at our side to support us in many different ways. My myasthenia gravis is not debilitating at this point. I do have some double vision on occasion, and I'm on quite a few medications for a variety of different things, including the myasthenia gravis. So I want to talk about your caregiver. I like the term care partner. We've adopted that from the nursing industry, actually. So it's a way of a mindset shift. So I want you to think about this. What is the difference between a care partner and a caregiver? Well, you all know what a caregiver is because you probably have one, and we probably have some caregivers listening to this presentation. A caregiver gives care in a lot of different ways, while a care partner partners with you in your care and their care. So think about that for a moment. While this difference may seem trivial at first, it can create a powerful shift in mindset of your role, resulting in a much improved relationship between you and the person you partner with in care. My care partner comes with me to doctor's appointments when I know a decision about treatment or something important is going to happen, important information that I have to share with the doctor, and that I need a second listener, someone to take notes. We do research together on the drugs, the myasthenia drugs, before we got involved in, getting off. I was on prednisone and mestinon, still on that, also on Imuron right now. So we did a lot of research together, and that was very supportive. To have somebody evaluating the information along with myself, us taking notes, and writing down questions for the doctor. So that's one way that we interact. We do not live together. He also has some health issues, has had some surgeries in the past. And we're there for each other if we need care in each other's homes. So again, a little bit more about the care partner. Oops, I already did that one. So care partnering is a term you may not have heard before. So think about this. The term denotes an agreement between the person with a chronic condition and their loved one to be partners in care as best they can, to help each other with their health, with their wellness, and caring for each other, to do so as long as you can while you can. So make a note of that and any thoughts that you have that may have shifted between how you view the individual caring for you. I hope you have some note paper. I have a lot of information for you. I know that all of you may be in different situations with needing care. So this information will impact you differently. But please take some notes. And if you have an aha moment, I'd love to hear about it at the end of the session. So a caregiver provides many different things. When I was caring for my mother, I pretty much did it all. So what did I do? You may have this, you may need this, you may want this. So these are things you can ask for help if you're not getting them. Emotional support by being a good listener and good communicator. Physical support by keeping you safe. And that's interesting. My mother was in her late 80s and 90s when I took care of her. And even though she was in an assisted living facility, she was prone to falling. So the interactions I had with the nurses were important. Looking at her medications, it turned out that there was a medication that was actually impacting her mobility. So all of those things you learn as you go along the way, but keeping the individual safe is a concern. It's also a worry that the caregiver has if your safety is involved. A caregiver may provide personal care by helping with dressing, meal preparation, shopping, and errands, transportation. And you know what, even if they're not helping with these things at this time, those are things you can do with your caregiver, your care partner, because it's probably a loved one, a family member that you would enjoy spending time with anyway. They may schedule and attend doctor appointments with you. I do my own scheduling, but as I mentioned, my care partner, I coordinate with his schedule so that he can attend the appointments where I need him there. And I think this is one of the more important activities that you can have because, as you're experiencing with myasthenia gravis, things can change. I had a progression of my illness, and it was important that I had somebody to talk to about how my treatment would go in addition to the doctor. So we researched treatments and he assisted me with the medical decision. The medical decision was my own. I noticed when I took care of my mother at the very beginning, I was telling her what to do. She didn't like that. You probably don't like that if your loved one is telling you what to do. So be sure to let them know you'd love to have a conversation about treatments and that you'll make the final decision and hope that they respect it. Another thing, depending on your ability to manage your financial and legal matters. I know I took over my mother's financial and legal matters. You may not be at that stage, but this is something you may want your care partner, your caregiver, to know about your life. What are your financial and legal matters? Who are your contacts? Who does your taxes? Who gives you financial advice? Who is your attorney? And are your legal documents are in order? I would encourage all of you at any age to have a conversation with either your caregiver or to manage this on your own yourself. It does not matter how old you are. This is important information. So I'm going through this so you understand some of the responsibilities of the caregiver, and you might see why they need your support as well. If you need help, they may help you hire help. It could be companionship. It could be help around the home. It could be household chores, but that's available to you. I'm pretty sure your caregiver is trying to make life easier for you. Now, I know that one of the biggest things that comes up in the support groups is the communication, how you're communicating with each other. And this is extremely important, to be generous in your listening, to be generous listening for other people's opinion, because they may have something useful to say to you. Hopefully they're not forcing their opinion on you, but to listen, to understand why they have that opinion, and that in the bottom line is they're trying to make life easier for you and to help you. And if they are older than you, they've got a little bit more wisdom and life experience. So they may actually be offering some good assistance for you. Well, another thing a caregiver does is worry about you and worry about your future. There are so many diseases. Myasthenia gravis is one of them that can cause deterioration in your health, and that would impact your life, your future, your decisions, and it's a source of worry. And I know that the mothers that I've talked to that are taking care of daughters with myasthenia gravis or have adult daughters worry about you a lot. So make a note of that and start appreciating your moms, your dads, your family members who really care about you. I think all of, they're really coming from their heart, and they're really coming from worrying and caring about you and your future. And it sounds probably from your end like they're interfering with your life. So get rid of that notion and start interacting with them as an adult and as a loved one who you care about each other and the life that you're creating together. So they worry when you don't communicate your needs or feelings. And this happened with me and Mom, and I held my feelings in for quite a long time. Some of those feelings were anger and upset and annoyance, and some of those negative feelings that a caregiver has because they're helpless. They can't solve problems. But when you don't communicate your needs or how caregiver can help you, then that creates worries that they want to be closer to you. They want to know what's going on because this is important. Your health is extremely important. Just remember that. Write that down. My health is extremely important, and my caregiver cares about me. Now, another thing that you may not be aware of is that the caregiver may have outside stressors from other family members or friends that are not supportive or don't agree with how they are giving care. This is a big one for family caregivers. When there is a lack of support, there's arguments about how care is given. This creates a lot of stress for the individual. You may not know this is happening because they may not be relating this to you. The other thing is they feel helpless because they can't fix your situation. If you have any men caregivers, particularly, the men are the fixers, and this is particularly difficult for them because they want to help, they want you to get better, and they want to fix it. And really, we're in a situation where this disease can't be fixed. It can be treated, but not fixed. So some caregivers are on call 24 hours like I was, and some of these things happened to me. I mean, I was not eating healthy. I was not getting enough rest, relaxation, or sleep, enough exercise or physical movement. I was holding in my emotions. I wasn't asking for help, and I felt lonely and isolated. So these may or may not be happening with your caregiver. You know your situation, but make a note that you might want to check in with them, especially the self-care parts of this, eating healthy, resting, getting exercise or movement. These are very important. They may not be expressing their emotions to you, but maybe they have other people. Find out if there's other people in their life that they can ask for help and that they can talk to. All right, so as a care receiver, we've talked a little bit about how you can support your care partner. Let's go into that a little bit deeper and make some notes here about if you're doing these things or how you can do them a little bit better. So one of the things is acknowledge their efforts and express gratitude. Remember, they're not trying to interfere in their life. They're trying to support you. They're trying to help you have a good life, a good day, a good week, a good future. So how might you acknowledge their efforts? One of them is by expressing gratitude. If they go out of their way to do research or go to the appointments with you, just a thank you is usually a good enough way to. My mom thanked me regularly, and I'll tell you, it made a huge difference because I know she appreciated me. And, that just went a long way for boosting my morale. You might send them. I used to send mom little gift cards, bring her gift cards or send them to her in the mail or call her unexpectedly and just have a chat with her. And she really appreciated the conversation and the companionship. Communication is a big issue. We talk about this a lot in the support groups. It's very difficult sometimes to be open and honest. To share not your thoughts, but your thoughts, your concerns and feelings, and encourage them to share as well. I'm not sure we're really the best communicators in the world, but it is important to say, I really love you. I really need to talk to you. I want to be honest about what I'm feeling and what I'm thinking and any concerns I have. And that goes both ways. So somebody has to start this conversation. You don't want to let this go on too long if there's some things that you really want to share and that you really need to talk about. Your care partner is your best friend and likely a loved one. And it's important that you share this journey that you're on with your care partner because they want to know, and they also, if they haven't shared what they're going through, ask them, be curious, think of questions to ask them, and just, how are you doing today is one way to start a conversation. Or I'd like to share with you what the feelings I've been having or the trouble I've been having navigating through life, and get your thoughts, and maybe you can help me. So those are ways to start a conversation and, have it be calm. You don't want to blame anybody for circumstances. You want to have an open and honest conversation that shows your love for the person and that tells them where you are in your journey. As far as communication too, a lot of people like to keep a journal because that helps them get in touch with what their feelings are and what their thoughts are. Also, how they are functioning on a daily basis. So having a journal for yourself, your care receiver probably may want to have a journal as well. And you can actually share what you are writing. That might be an easier way, or you can keep it private. But it's a way to really start learning how to express yourself if you feel that isn't something that you're very good at. So another way you can support your care receiver is to encourage self-care. And self-care, we think of eating healthy, which is important, and exercise and sleep. Those are the three main things. But also self-care includes continuing on with your hobbies, socializing, relaxing, taking breaks. When I cared for mom those 14 years, my life got smaller. I stopped socializing as much as I did. I kept a few hobbies, but it wasn't enough because I didn't set boundaries with mom. I really felt like she needed me to be available whenever she needed me to be available. And that after a while, I finally figured out boundaries would be a good idea. And she was okay with that because she was at an assisted living and she had her socializing as well. So nobody may be in an assisted living facility at this point, but socializing is still very important. I talked about this is really about relationships. So the relationships with everybody in your life. It could be family members, it could be friends, neighbors, it could be a community that you're involved in. Those are critically important activities to continue in your life. So that's a good area to actually inquire. What are you doing in your life, and what is your care partner doing that lights them up and brings them joy? So we talked a little bit about boundaries. Caregivers, if they're taking care of someone that really needs, might be 24/7 care, but it might be care during the day. They need personal time and space as well. And I think my mother would have given me that space. She just didn't think to offer it. I had to come up with it. So, remember too, we're thinking from different perspectives. Your care giver is thinking from what their job and their responsibilities and their relationship with you. You are thinking from being the individual with myasthenia gravis and how you need to function in your life. So it'd be interesting to share. You both need boundaries, most likely. So what would that look like? Make some notes if you have some ideas about how you can interact and maybe set boundaries, or just have a conversation. What are the things you need to communicate with openly? Okay, well, we come to support group, counseling, or respite services. Dova mentioned that I lead the National Caregiver Support Group for myasthenia gravis. We meet twice a month, and the dates will be one is a Saturday morning, one is I think it's Tuesday or Wednesday evening, so we can hit the West Coast. So if your caregiver does not know about the support group, please check the MG website and please invite them to come. People have, benefited greatly. We find out what the needs are and we address them. And I usually have a theme or some questions to ask that get us into a conversation. So have them come to that. As an individual with myasthenia gravis, I also suggest the support groups that are available through the MG website as well. I attend several of them, and I find that very supportive as well. So those are good things. You feel part of a community. You don't feel alone. You get information that you need about your illness. You've got a community of people that you're traveling with on this journey, and it's incredibly supportive. So back to relationships and how important they are. So what else? Offer assistance when possible. I mentioned that my care partner and I do not live together, but on occasion we help each other with household chores, things that need fixing around the house. I clean up some of his house on occasion, mostly in the kitchen. We like to cook together. He cooks and I do the dishes and clean up the kitchen counters. So what kind of activities can you do together that, contribute to having fun with the individual that's caring for you? Another thing, show empathy and understanding, as caregiving can be emotionally and physically challenging. So just take a look again at what your loved one is doing for you, the amount of energy that they're experiencing in caring for you. What does their life look like? And is there some joy and happiness in their life as well? Or are they really emotionally and physically deteriorating or need help in that area? One of the things I love to talk about is celebrating achievements. Mom and I had a lot of fun over 14 years, just celebrating each other, celebrating accomplishments that I made, awards that I got, different things going on in my career, and of course, celebrating birthdays. But, the small things. So look for the small things to celebrate. And I say celebrate each other because life is precious and we don't know how long we have on this earth. So let's enjoy our relationships and celebrate the time that we have together. Another thing, make your wishes known. Ask that they respect them as you will respect their wishes. Again, this kind of gets back into telling or demanding things of each other. Let's not do that. Let's have conversations, listen to each other's opinions, and respect them, and then, arrive at a decision based on what you need for yourself. One of the things in communication is to be a good listener. And one way to be a good listener and to get the other person talking is to ask questions to understand what is their opinion, what is their knowledge or wisdom that they can impart to you. I do want you to notice next time you have a conversation, how good a listener you are. And you can do that by noting how many times you interrupt the person who's talking and when they're not finished. So let's try that as a homework assignment and sharpen your listening skills, because this is one of the most valuable skills that you can develop in your relationship with your caregiver, but also in your life. So start being a good listener. And one of the things that we tend to do is when we're in a conversation, somebody's talking, but we're already preparing in our mind a response to them. So turn your mind off, except to listen to what that individual has to say, and listen to ask more questions to get more detail about what they're talking about. So that's a tip for you, and that is a homework assignment. So we're talking about relationships, and it's not about the number of friends you have. It's really about an opportunity for developing connection and intimacy with people. And this is the people that are in your family, but also anyone that is supporting you in any area of your life. Relationships are what bring us joy and bring us the most happiness. And that's actually proven by a lot of research over the last 20 years. So some of these people are friends that know your history and they still like you. They like you anyway, and they want to be around you and they want to support you. They want to be included in your life. When I'm, well, even at this stage in my life, I'm looking at who are the people that I want to be included in my life, who know my history, who know about Myasthenia Gravis. I'm teaching a lot of people about Myasthenia Gravis. I'm teaching a lot of people about caregiving. These are people that are interested in my well-being, who express love, and who are there for me that I can call on to support me in either an emergency or in my everyday life if I need support. I'd like you to start thinking about who those people are and actually making a list of them and keeping a document so that you know at a glance who those people are that you can call on and that support you. So I'm going to give you some ideas here. So I call it your care community, and you can be healthy and still have a care community. These are people in your life that support you. So their family, their friends, their neighbors, they could be coworkers, they could be present or former coworkers. So you want their name and their contact information, a phone number and an email, and eventually how they might support you. But first, let's just document everybody that's in your life that could be part of this community. So they're all your doctors, therapists, anybody in home health that has helped you, home companion services. They could be a daycare facility. They could be a caregiver consultant like myself.
We do have a question.
Okay, great.
Someone is asking if you could talk more about the healthcare surrogate and power of attorney documents with more than a single backup. Could you just review and update the documents to, how to consider and include your caregiver or care partner?
Okay, let's see. I didn't even have it on.
Do you want to get to that later, or do you want to?
Yeah, no, let's address it now, because those people are part of your care community and I've left them off my slide. But I would recommend that you consult an attorney that you trust. I had consulted an elder care attorney for my mother. We were at that age where we felt that that was the best help that we could get. Also, it was absolutely important. Well, this elder care attorney, I loved her because she had us select two people. She had who is your primary care healthcare surrogate, and then who is your backup. So those are all in documents. I have printed out the healthcare surrogate documents. They go with me to the doctor. They went with me to the surgery center where I had my spinal injection last week. They're always in my documents, and they're in my documents with the cautionary drug information for Myasthenia Gravis. And Dova, what was the other Was it healthcare surrogate and something else?
It was healthcare surrogate and power of attorney.
Power of attorney. So it's durable power of attorney that you want to look at, a durable power of attorney for healthcare, or it could be called the healthcare surrogate. And then that is the individual that understands what your wishes are regarding your healthcare, that is familiar with your healthcare history, your medication, your doctors, and knows what your wishes are regarding healthcare. I was in the hospital with COVID, very severe case of COVID and pneumonia. My documents were there. I was in communication with my care partner and he was not allowed in the hospital, unfortunately, during COVID, except finally they let him in for 30 minutes a day, but he had all those documents. He was available. People knew who he was. His name was on the board in the room, and they knew how to get in touch with him if it was necessary. So all of that is critically important. The durable power of attorney is for financial matters. So if you become incapable of managing your financial affairs, then that's the purpose of that document. I took care of my mom's financial affairs. I always had that paperwork handy and in a file with me. So I hope that answered your question. And please ask again if I didn't give you the answer you were looking for, or you have more questions. So a lot of people in your care community, these can be people you hire to help you. I know at this point in my life, I love to have somebody do my lawn because it's a big lawn and it's hot and humid in Florida. So I hire someone to do that. Cleaning service, meal service, transportation services. Look into those if those are things that could be helpful to your caregiver instead of having them do everything. As far as people in your life that you can count on, who is the individual that's there for you? Someone you can call for advice, but also someone you can vent to. Remember, we talked about listening. Who's a good listener in your life? And just tell them, I have to vent. I'm going to take 10 minutes and I just need you to listen. So that can be very helpful because we do go through some difficult times in our life and we need people like that. It may be our caregiver that wants to listen. It could be somebody else in your life, but build your community and have that information available. Also find someone who makes you laugh. My care partner makes me laugh. So he does a lot of different, produces a lot of experiences for me. He's the one I go to if I need to be uplifted in my spirits. Okay. One of the notes I want to leave you with is search for the positive and the lessons. No one is happy when a loved one's health fails or when your health fails and someone is called on to provide care. It's possible to accept, though, and even welcome the opportunity when we recognize that caring for our family member gives our life meaning. We can view caregiving as a way to fulfill our purpose, express love, learn, and grow. Growth comes from adversity, and what we're going through is, I would call that adversity. And while we don't know what challenges we will face, we can choose to accept the struggles and have faith that we have the strength required to survive and even thrive. I know when I was in the caregiving journey with my mother that I developed a lot of strength. I developed the ability to advocate for her, to speak my mind, to make sure she was given the best health care, and to solve problems. And I didn't know that that was something that I had inside of me. Another thing, if you don't like something, change it. If you can't change it, change your attitude. And don't complain about what's going on. Complaining doesn't help. You want to solve problems. You want to move forward in your life. Maya Angelou. This is the book that Dovra mentioned, 21 Mistakes Caregivers Make and How to Avoid Them, Solutions and Strategies to Reduce Stress and Increase Happiness. I wrote it, short chapters, mistakes with easy solutions. It'll be available on Amazon in September, but I do have a free gift for you right now. If you go to my website, Toni.com, there is a free download. It's an introduction to those 21 mistakes. So please feel free to get your free gift. And I think it's time for question and answers, isn't it?
So one question, Toni, is as the patient, how does one not feel guilty about the time that you're taking from your caregiver, your care partner? You know,
Well, that's
how does the
yeah.
patient deal with that?
Yeah, that's common. My mother sure felt guilty taking up all my time. Yeah, so we address that. The best thing is to talk about it. Say, you know, I feel guilty. He said, I'm taking a lot of your time and I wish I didn't. And see what happens in the conversation. Be open to having the conversation. The only way to release those feelings, the emotions that you have, is to express them. You hold them in, they start building up, they get bigger than they need to be. But talking about them. Now, I don't know how your caregiver will respond, but if you say it in a loving way, to me, caregiving and being a care receiver, they're all acts of love. And if we approach our day, our interaction with people as a loving act, I think the response, will be very positive. So how does that sound?
Sounds good to me. So I need to read this question. My daughter is 21, diagnosed in January of 2022. She wishes to go to her neurologist appointment this June on her own, as she thinks that in the future, she would have to handle all this alone, as we will not always be around. We have always accompanied her, as she sometimes forgets things to ask. I'm not sure what to do, as we do want to be able to hear her doctors live. Any advice on this?
Well, there's a conversation that you need to have. I would, the thing about being independent is very important to people, probably especially at that age. But with a health issue and with all the questions that come up with our disease, what I've learned is that it's so valuable to have somebody there listening, may not be even interacting, but they're taking notes, because sometimes there's so much information that I can't absorb it at the time. So I appreciate sometimes my partner and I then have a conversation about what happened, because I can't remember all of it. So you might suggest that you may not always be there for her, but you're there now. And you play an important role in supporting her. So perhaps she thinks you're going to be making decisions for her. Maybe she's trying to push you aside. So look at how you're interacting in that situation so that it is supportive. And suggest it's something that's helpful. If she needs to go by herself, let her go by herself and have that experience. I'll just share this. When I was in the hospital with COVID, I called my care partner when the doctor came in. And I said, my care partner's on the phone. Let's talk, because I wanted him included, because it was important to me to have somebody else listening in. So she may realize that at some point. The other thing is, I've had breast cancer, and I didn't have a care partner at the time, but I had a friend who had breast cancer, and she said, I am going with you to the doctor because I've been through this. It was so valuable to get her input. So it's a conversation, and you need to, whatever her wishes are, you want to support her.
Thank you. The next question is, any suggestions for showing your appreciation to your caregivers, such as gifts, money, or other forms that will not possibly insult them?
Oh, well, and no, I have no idea. That's interesting. You want to get to know your caregiver. Maybe ask her questions on the side, ask questions about their life. Yeah, I think that's a beautiful thought, though. There's a lot of gift cards that, when appropriate, are good. My mother, I love greeting cards. I mean, I'm 70, in my 70s, and we did greeting cards our whole life. And there's so many beautiful ones today that could be enough. But I think that's something for you to explore with your caregiver. And I really appreciate that you're thinking about doing that.
Great, thank you. Well, I don't see any other questions at this time. We really appreciate your time today, Toni. And that's very exciting that people can go to your website and download um, a preview of the book. So somebody just put in the chat, for appreciation as the care partner, the patient can ask, what can I do for you? So that's
Yeah,
a good turning around of the roles.
that's great. I learned a great question too that I'll share with everybody. Anybody can ask this. How can I make your day better for you? It just, people go, wow, you just did, that's enough. You know, but there could be a good answer to that. So how can I make your day better, Dova?
And someone's asking about a recording of the webinar, and yes, we will have it on our website shortly after the webinar. So, Toni, thank you so much. We appreciate your time as always. And everyone, if you'd like to go to the caregivers support group, please go on the website and look under the support group listings, and you can just search for caregiver and you will find the listings there. And Toni's has the meetings twice a month. So there's 2 different times that you can attend. So we hope everyone got something out of this, and I know I did, and I appreciate it, Toni. So thank you, everybody, and we will see you all soon.
Yeah, thanks,
Bye-bye.
everybody. Bye-bye.